Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The most unpredictable man is the one who plays by no rules, not even his own. There's a type of man who doesn't fit into society's neatly labeled boxes. He's not an alpha commanding attention, nor a beta seeking approval. He moves differently, detached, calculating, impossible to pin down. You won't find him leading the pack, but somehow he's always ahead of it. Psychologists have long studied outliers, those who reject social norms yet still thrive. And here's the unsettling truth. The Sigma male isn't just different, he's an anomaly. His mind operates on an entirely different level, driven by logic, strategy, and a quiet defiance of expectations. But what really sets him apart? His bizarre, almost unnerving habits. Things that seem strange, even unsettling to the average person. From disappearing for days without explanation to testing people in ways they'll never realize, his behaviors aren't just unusual, they're strategic. So if you think you understand the Sigma mindset, think again, because what you're about to see will make you question everything you thought you knew. Let's dive into 11 weird habits all Sigma males have, and trust me, some of these will leave you speechless. Number 1. They develop social hangovers. Even without socializing, Sigma males experience something strange that most people don't. They get socially drained even when they haven't socialized at all. It's not just about interacting with others, it's about the possibility of it. The mental energy required to process, predict, and avoid social interactions can be just as exhausting as actually engaging in them. It starts with simple things. Seeing unread messages sitting on their phone feels like an obligation, even if no one expects an immediate response. A casual invite to an event they never planned on attending still lingers in their mind, forcing them to strategize the best way to decline without unnecessary conversation. Even something as routine as stepping outside means anticipating small talk, dodging forced interactions, and maintaining an energy they have no desire to give. It's not that they hate people, it's that people require effort, and effort demands energy. Sigma males prefer their energy to be spent on things they actually care about, like their personal goals, deep thoughts, or simply existing in their own space without external demands. But society isn't built for that kind of detachment. The pressure to engage, to be available, to participate, even when they don't, creates a mental weight that drains them before they even say a word. This is why Sigma males disappear, go off the grid, or leave messages unanswered for days. It's not rudeness or neglect, it's self-preservation. They need solitude like others need sleep. Without it, their mind feels cluttered, overstimulated, and worn down by a world that never stops demanding attention. The irony? When they do socialize, they often handle it well. They can be charming, insightful, even magnetic in the right circumstances. But the second it's over, the exhaustion sets in, not from what they said, but from what they had to suppress. And that's why, even after a day of absolute silence, a Sigma male can still feel like he's run a marathon he never signed up for. Number 2. They secretly judge people's intelligence based on how they react to silence. Sigma males see silence as more than just the absence of words. It's a test, a filter, and a tool for revealing someone's true nature. They don't just hear what people say. They study how they handle the quiet moments in between, and what they find in those moments tells them everything they need to know. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They scramble to fill it, as if an unspoken gap in conversation is some kind of failure. Sigma males notice this immediately. When someone starts rambling, oversharing, or throwing out meaningless small talk just to avoid a quiet pause, it signals insecurity. It suggests they need external validation, that they're uncomfortable with their own thoughts, or that they lack the depth to sit with stillness. To a Sigma, that's a red flag. Then there are those who embrace silence, who don't rush to fill it, who don't flinch when a conversation slows down, who remain perfectly at ease in the absence of words. These people earn the Sigma male's respect. It suggests confidence, self-awareness, and a mind that doesn't need constant noise to feel secure. They recognize that silence isn't awkward. It's a form of communication on its own. Sigma males also use silence as a strategy. They'll intentionally pause after making a statement just to see how the other person reacts. A strong, self-assured individual will acknowledge the silence without fear. A nervous or insecure one will scramble to fill it, revealing more about themselves than they realize. This is why Sigma males rarely speak more than necessary. They understand that the way a person reacts to silence exposes more than words ever could. And once they've made their judgment, it's almost impossible to change. Number 3. They play mind games with themselves, just to keep life interesting. Sigma males have a strange way of keeping themselves entertained, by turning their own lives into a never-ending psychological experiment. They don't need external validation or stimulation to stay engaged. They create their own challenges, their own rules, and sometimes even their own obstacles, just to see if they can overcome them. This isn't about proving something to others. It's about proving something to themselves. They might set arbitrary limits, like speaking only when absolutely necessary to see how people react, or going an entire day without using any technology just to test their self-control. If they feel like their routine is getting too predictable, they'll shake it up on purpose, sometimes in ways that don't even make logical sense to anyone else. It goes deeper than just little challenges. Sometimes they'll pull back from social interactions just to see who actually notices their absence. Other times, they'll intentionally downplay their abilities in a group setting just to observe how others behave when they don't see them as competition. They analyze people's reactions to their unpredictability like a scientist running an experiment. They also love testing their own endurance. Can they push through an entire week with minimal sleep just to see how it affects their mind? Can they force themselves to be completely expressionless in every conversation for a day? To most people, these habits seem pointless, maybe even a little bizarre. But for Sigma males, it's a way to stay sharp, to keep their mind engaged in a world that often feels too predictable and dull. To them, life is a game, one where they're both the player and the one designing the rules. And because they're never competing with anyone but themselves, no one else even realizes they're playing. Number 4. They purposely test people by giving them partial truths. Sigma males don't take people at face value, they test them. And one of their most subtle but effective methods is giving out just enough information to see what happens next. It's not about lying or deception, it's about observation. They want to know who listens, who twists their words, who keeps things to themselves, and who can't resist running their mouth. If they suspect someone might be untrustworthy, they'll feed them a small, insignificant detail, something that doesn't matter but sounds interesting enough to be repeated. Then, they wait. If that detail comes back to them through someone else, they know exactly who let it slip. It's a quiet, calculated way of identifying loose lips without ever confronting anyone directly. Sometimes the test isn't about trust, it's about intelligence. A Sigma male might drop an intentionally vague statement and see if the other person asks the right questions or jumps to conclusions. If someone blindly assumes instead of thinking critically, that tells them all they need to know. If the person digs deeper, asks the right questions, or catches on to the ambiguity, they gain respect. This habit extends beyond conversations. A Sigma might test a friend's reliability by asking for a small favor with no real urgency, just to see how they handle it. They might act indifferent about something important to them to gauge whether the other person notices. It's all about gathering data, understanding who's observant, who's careless, and who's worth keeping close. To most people, these tests go unnoticed. They don't even realize they're being evaluated until it's too late. And by the time a Sigma male has made up his mind about someone, there's no second chance to prove otherwise. Number 5. They secretly get a rush from being misunderstood. Most people feel frustrated when they're misunderstood. They want to explain themselves, clear up misconceptions, and make sure others get them. But Sigma males? They don't just accept being misunderstood, they enjoy it. It's like a secret weapon, a silent advantage they hold over the world. There's a certain power in being unpredictable and knowing that people are making assumptions about you that are completely wrong. When others struggle to figure them out, Sigma males know they've already won. The more people misinterpret their silence, their detachment, or their motives, the more control they have over how they're perceived. This isn't accidental. It's something they cultivate. They don't go out of their way to correct misunderstandings because deep down, they like being an enigma. If someone assumes they're weak because they don't boast, that person will never see them coming when they dominate. If someone thinks they don't care because they keep their emotions hidden, that person will never know what truly matters to them. The thrill comes from knowing that people only see what the Sigma male allows them to see. They might drop cryptic statements, give minimal reactions, or let others make their own conclusions, all while secretly observing how those around them try and fail to put the pieces together. And when someone finally does figure them out, that's rare, that's interesting. That's someone worth paying attention to. Most people seek understanding. Sigma males thrive in its absence. The less people get them, the more they know they're playing the game exactly how they want to. Number 6, they train themselves to be unpredictable on purpose. Sigma males understand a fundamental truth about power. Predictability is a weakness. The moment people think they have you figured out, they start to anticipate your moves, categorize you, and ultimately manipulate you. That's why Sigmas never let themselves become fully readable. Instead, they make unpredictability a conscious habit, something they train themselves to do with precision. One day they might be talkative and engaging, the next completely withdrawn. Sometimes they respond instantly to messages, other times they disappear for days. They might show up to an event unexpectedly, just when people assume they never will. Or they'll break a pattern they've followed for months just to remind others they can. Nothing about their behavior is random, it's controlled chaos. This isn't about being erratic or unreliable. It's about making sure no one ever fully understands their next move. If someone believes a Sigma male is cold and detached, he might suddenly show surprising warmth, only to pull back again just as quickly. If people think he always avoids conflict, he might confront an issue head-on when they least expect it. These subtle contradictions keep others on edge, unsure of what to expect, which gives the Sigma a psychological advantage in any interaction. This habit extends beyond personal interactions. Sigma males train themselves to avoid patterns in their routines, social habits, and even their decision-making. They don't like being predictable because predictability makes them easier to control. By staying one step ahead and keeping others guessing, they ensure that no one, friends, colleagues, or rivals, ever truly knows what's coming next. To outsiders, this behavior can be confusing, even frustrating. But to the Sigma male, it's just another layer of independence, one that guarantees he remains an enigma no one can fully grasp. Number 7. They feel more connected to fictional characters than real people. Sigma males often find themselves more emotionally invested in fictional characters than in the people they interact with daily. It's not because they dislike real people, it's because most people simply don't get them. Their way of thinking, their depth, and their detachment from social norms make it difficult to find individuals who truly resonate with them. But in fiction, that's where they see fragments of themselves reflected back. They gravitate toward lone wolves, anti-heroes, and misunderstood geniuses, characters who operate outside the system, who don't seek validation, yet always seem to be 5 steps ahead. Whether it's a brooding anime protagonist, a historical strategist, or a rogue figure in literature, Sigma males relate to their struggles, their independence, and their internal conflicts. These characters often wrestle with isolation, purpose, and the burden of seeing the world differently, things a Sigma male experiences daily. Unlike real people, fictional characters don't engage in pointless small talk, mindless trends, or performative social games. Their actions have depth, their choices have weight, and their silence is often filled with meaning. Sigmas find comfort in that. They see a kind of truth in fiction that reality often lacks. This deep connection to fiction isn't just about entertainment, it's a form of understanding. A way for Sigma males to process their own thoughts, their own place in the world. Sometimes they even test themselves against these characters, asking, what would I have done in that situation? It's less about escapism and more about sharpening their own mindset. Ironically, This connection to fictional figures makes them even more detached from the average person. When you've spent years relating to the sharpest minds in history, or the most strategic characters in fiction, it's hard to be interested in surface-level conversations or everyday social dramas. And so, the cycle continues. The world misunderstands them, and they, in turn, retreat into the minds of characters who never existed, but somehow feel more real than most people they meet. Number 8. They soft quit social groups without telling anyone. Sigma males don't do dramatic exits. They don't make speeches, announce their departure, or seek closure. They simply fade out, quietly, efficiently, and without explanation. One day, they're actively engaging. The next, they're responding less, showing up sporadically, and eventually, they're just gone. This isn't out of malice or resentment. It's not a cry for attention or an attempt to make people chase them. It's simply how they operate. The moment a social group no longer serves a purpose, whether it's no longer stimulating, has too much drama, or just feels like a drain on their time, they begin the slow process of detaching. Not out of anger, but out of necessity. They don't see the point in dramatic goodbyes because to them, relationships aren't about constant presence. They're about value. If the connection was genuine, it doesn't need maintenance. If it wasn't, then there's nothing to maintain. So, instead of making a big deal about leaving, they let their absence speak for itself. What makes this even more confusing to others is that Sigma males rarely give a warning. They don't hint that they're pulling away. They don't gradually ease people into it. They just start prioritizing their solitude over social obligations, responding less frequently, declining more invitations, until eventually they're a ghost. And by the time someone notices, it's already too late. The most unsettling part, if someone does reach out, questioning why they've disappeared, the Sigma male won't offer excuses or apologies. They'll likely just respond with something vague, nonchalant, and impossible to argue with. Something like, "I've just been doing my own thing." And that's the truth. They're always doing their own thing, whether people notice or not. Number 9. They don't trust compliments and mentally break them down. Instead, Sigma males don't take compliments at face value. While most people soak up praise and let it boost their confidence, a Sigma male's first instinct is to analyze, question, and sometimes even distrust it. To them, a compliment isn't just a kind word. It's a potential move in a larger game, one that they need to decipher before deciding how to react. Their mind instantly starts breaking it down. Why was this said? What do they gain from saying it? Are they being genuine, or is there an agenda? It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Sigma males have learned that flattery is often a tool, whether consciously or unconsciously used. Compliments can be a form of manipulation, a setup for a favor, or a way to lower their defenses. So instead of accepting praise at face value, they pick it apart like a puzzle. Even when a compliment is genuine, Sigma males struggle to let it sink in. They don't rely on external validation, so praise doesn't have the same effect on them as it does on others. If someone tells them they're intelligent, they don't feel pride. They start questioning if the person truly understands their mind. If they're told they're attractive, they wonder if it's just politeness, or if the person has an ulterior motive. Compliments don't boost their ego. They trigger their analytical nature. This habit can make them seem indifferent, even ungrateful. But it's not about rejecting kindness. It's about ensuring that every interaction they engage in is authentic. And in a world where words are often used as leverage, Sigma males would rather overanalyze than be caught off guard. Number 10. They get deeply annoyed by fake confidence and overcompensation. Sigma males have a built-in radar for fake confidence, and nothing irritates them more than people who constantly perform self-assurance instead of actually having it. Loud, boastful, attention-seeking behavior isn't just annoying to them, it's outright embarrassing to watch. To a Sigma, true confidence is silent. It doesn't need to be announced, proven, or shoved in people's faces. That's why when someone constantly brags about their achievements, exaggerates their abilities, or tries too hard to impress, the Sigma male doesn't see strength. He sees insecurity in disguise. They know that people who are truly confident don't need validation. They don't need to be the loudest in the room, and they don't need to make sure everyone notices them. So when someone is overcompensating, whether it's through excessive bragging, fake toughness, or trying too hard to be dominant, it triggers an immediate sense of secondhand embarrassment. Sigma males won't call it out directly, but they will mentally check out. They'll quietly observe, picking apart every exaggerated claim, every forced flex, and every attempt at dominance. And in their mind, they've already categorized the person as someone they don't respect. Ironically, the people who try hardest to impress a Sigma male are the ones who fail the fastest. Because while others might buy into the act, a Sigma sees straight through it. And once they've lost respect for someone, there's no getting it back. Number 11. They randomly disappear for days or even weeks to reboot their mind. Sigma males have an almost instinctual need to disappear from time to time. It's not about running away from responsibilities or avoiding people. It's about rebooting their mind in complete isolation. Unlike most people who seek constant engagement, Sigmas know that too much external noise dulls their edge. So, when life starts feeling repetitive or mentally draining, they vanish. No warnings, no explanations. One day they're fully present, handling business, interacting as usual. The next, gone. No texts, no social media updates, no responses. They retreat into their own world, cutting off distractions and obligations, not because they're angry or upset, but because they need time to recalibrate. During this time, they might dive deep into learning, strategizing, or just sitting in silence, whatever helps them reset their mental sharpness. They don't need entertainment or social validation to feel fulfilled. They need solitude to process their thoughts without interference. And when they return, they do so as if nothing happened, expecting others to either understand or not question it. Some people take it personally, assuming the Sigma male is avoiding them. But in reality, it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's a necessary mental reset, a habit that ensures they stay in control of their own mind, rather than being overwhelmed by the expectations of the outside world. And the most Sigma thing about it? If you ask them where they've been, they'll likely give you a simple, almost dismissive answer. Just doing my own thing. Because for them, that's exactly what it is. Sigma males don't fit into the world's expectations. They reshape them. Every habit, every quirk, every calculated action stems from one core principle: independence at all costs. They don't move with the crowd. They don't seek validation, and they don't explain themselves. Instead, they observe, test, and maneuver through life on their own terms, leaving people guessing and never giving away more than necessary. Whether it's their love for silence, their subtle mind games, or their quiet disappearances, everything they do is intentional. They don't react, they anticipate. They don't follow patterns, they break them. And while most people spend their lives trying to be understood, Sigma males find power in being a mystery. Some will misinterpret them as distant, others as unpredictable. But the truth is, they're simply operating on a level that most people never even realize exists. And by the time anyone tries to figure them out, they're already 10 steps ahead, watching, analyzing, and deciding whether they even care to be seen at all. If this breakdown of Sigma male habits just gave you a new perspective, or maybe even made you realize you might be one, then don't just disappear like a true Sigma. At least not yet. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive like this. Drop a comment below. Do you relate to any of these habits? Have you ever tested people like this without them knowing? Let's hear your thoughts, if you're willing to share, of course. And if you know someone who thinks they understand Sigma males, share this video with them. Let's see if they still feel the same after this. Now, whether you stick around or pull a classic Sigma move and vanish, just know, we see you, and we know you'll be back.